But today is the second to last edition of our 12-day exclusive series New China. CGTN is on the road again as we explore the aquaculture development in Liaoning Province, the ancient architecture in the eastern city of Suzhou, and also the majestic Three Gorges Dam in the southwest. And our report routes across the country already, ready to show us the vast rural areas of China and how different regions manage to realize their economic potentials. First, I will turn to my colleague Jonathan Bez and also Xu Xinchen in Panjin in Liaoning Province. Hello there, guys. I've learned that the city of Panjin is famous for not only rice, but also another one of my most favorite food, the crabs. So tell us a bit more about that. Have you guys had any crab meat yet?
Sure, Tony. We're about to. Not yet. So as you have mentioned, Jonathan and I have arrived in Panjin, a coastal city right here in northeastern China along the Bohai Bay area. But you know what? Actually, the city is best known for its petrochemical industry.
Yeah, so a lot of chemical plants here, but also a lot of farms and food, which is what we're talking about today. More than half the population here lives outside of the city, so a lot of people raise pigs, cows, and crabs.
Hairy crabs is a local specialty. I believe is also one of Tony's favorite. And this is the harvest season, and we have some right here. And
let's dig in.
Let's do it.
Let you guys know, these are freshly boiled or steamed crabs just delivered to us right here on this rice fields, and we're going to open them up. You're going to show me how to eat these, right?
You need to peel the butt off that?
Yeah, the back of it.
Yeah.
Let me find a good one. I don't like how some of these look. All right. So you peel off the back.
Yes.
Like, okay, like this.
Yeah. Here we go.
And
hear the cracking sound.
I hear the crack.
And then
pull off the top.
The back of the top shell of it. Voila. Ooh, you got a really good one. Really good one. So you have that's the egg thing. That's a female crab.
Okay. And where is the meat and what do we eat?
Oh, we eat the egg thing, the yolk thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
How's it taste? Are you going to eat it?
Oh, I can. Let me try.
Some. Yeah.
But
so
we need to clean up this because these are the digestive organs. And
split it in half.
Yep. And take a bite. It's really fresh. It's just called this out of from this rice patty or rice fields right behind.
Do you like it?
It's really good, actually.
You want some more? You can have mine.
No, I'll keep it to my mind.
So we are sitting on some big rice patties back here because what is interesting here about this village is that they are growing rice and raising these crabs together at the same time. It's kind of an efficient way to maximize the use of land and maximize the return. So they harvest the rice at one time a year and they catch the crabs at different time of year. So it's a great way to maximize what they have here.
And I just want to point out some numbers right here. As we have mentioned, half of the population live in rural area. But you know what? The local agriculture industry has been developing really fast. So meat production in Panjin has been rising on average 8% a year since the establishment of the People's Republic of China.
70 years ago. So that shows you just how the taste and the industries here have changed. And CGTN Sun Tianyuan explains how these little crustaceans right here have helped build fortunes.
A Chinese billionaire once said, if you want to be the richest in the world, set a small target at 100 million yuan first. This young entrepreneur is about to join the club by selling crabs online.
I started doing e-commerce, selling crabs 5 years ago. This year, we began to sell them on Douyin, and our revenue is expected to reach over 100 million yuan.
That's about 14 million US dollars. More than twice the company's revenue last year.
It's almost become a ritual to have crabs during the Mid-Autumn Festival. At first, only high-end consumers could afford them. But now, Panjin crabs have reached hundreds of thousands of families here in China.
Last year, the city produced over 5 billion yuan worth of crabs. One of the best sellers is raised in rice fields, an eco-friendly way introduced by a local company. Well, this is one of Panjin's signature products, crab and rice. These little crabs, about the size of Coke buttons, grow in the pollution-free rice fields and will be ready to serve on the table in a year. Panjingers might not be the first to eat crabs in Chinese history, but they are certainly the early birds in making a fortune out of them. Nevertheless, their crab empire wasn't built in a day.
In the beginning, farmers couldn't even afford to purchase crab larvae, and we had to talk them into the business. But then they realized there is a big return, so now they just can't wait to get started.
The industry saw a boom in the late 1980s due to technical advancements. Over the years, the local government has also carried out measures to foster business and boost farmers' incomes.
Crab farmers' livelihoods have improved greatly. Years ago, many of our clients rode their bikes to purchase crab larvae. Now, they come here in their own cars.
Chai says the company is using scientific methods to breed a new mitten crab species. They're bigger and stronger with higher added value. And just like the new species, the city's aquatic business is expected to continue thriving nationwide. Sun Tianyuan, CGTN, Panjin.
Tasty crabs that can turn into money, right?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, to learn more about crabs, local crabs, and also rural development, here with us is the party secretary of Dapu's, a local village, Luo Ding. So, Mr. Luo, what have been done by locals so far to preserve the natural beauty and while furthering the development? So, 其实就是我们看到当地的我们有很多好的这种景色嘛，然后当地产业也发展比较好。这当地人做哪些工作呢？
我们大埔村在田家街道的大力支持和帮助下，
With the support of the communities, we have built many cooperatives and raising bases. For example, we are working with some enterprises as well to plant the vegetables, and the enterprises will also help us through the training. We're also working with the Beijing company Huifan Transaction Corporation to provide us the transaction training, and then we can raise the income.
Thank you so much, Mr. Luo.
So a lot of changes here, and it's important to point out this is not just about crabs, it's not just about rice, but farmers here have been turning to all sorts of new ideas, and many have been turning to tomatoes. So we go back to CGT and Sun Tianyuan to find out how that has also changed lives.
When it comes to the biggest change seen in one Chinese village over the years, an official's response was literally down to earth.
最大的改变就是脚上没有泥了。
There isn't mud on your feet now. The roads were rough and soaking on rainy days. Now villagers don't need to wear boots in the rain. Many just walk on the street in slippers.
China's Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs says over 80% of the nation's villages have launched cleanup campaigns since the end of last year. The movements have benefited many rural residents, even some square dancing ladies.
We used to do it near the dirt track where they sell coal. After several dances, we'd be covered in sand and dirt from head to toe. It's much nicer to dance in the newly built square.
Besides the living environment, villagers' incomes have also gone up, thanks to a special kind of tomato grown in the alkaline soil.
Alkaline tomatoes have become Panjin's signature farm product. They have a higher added value in economic returns. That's about 30 times the return of growing rice.
Minus the cost, a regular alkaline tomato greenhouse can make 80,000 yuan every year. That's about 11,000 US dollars, 3,000 more than the per capita provincial GDP last year.
Next year, I'm going to grow tomatoes in all 3 sheds, so I'm looking at about 240,000 yuan. It is a good way to spend my retirement life while doing something profitable.
The village's authorities are also working to boost farm tourism. They encourage farmers to host events such as strawberry picking so city dwellers will come and enjoy life in the countryside. Officials say this is one of the many steps to help the villagers improve their livelihood, and for their next stage of rural revitalization, they would further push industries and go out to exchange experiences with others. Sun Tianyuan, CGTN, Panjin, Liaoning Province.
All right, so let's talk about that. We have our guests with us who've been on the road for the last couple of days with us, Benjamin Xiao with Paris School of Business and our current affairs commentator, Tong Jimeng. So thank you guys for being with us out here. So Professor Tong, let me start with you. You know, China says that it's trying to build this new countryside. Tell me what that means and what is the point of this strategy?
Well, the whole initiative started back in 2006 with a major government directive guiding the construction of what we call the new socialist countryside. It's not a new concept. It's a concept actually was initiated back in the 1960s and even back in the 1950s. But then the idea now changed its major content and take on new significance because right now it's all about guaranteeing major investment in setting up in kind of like constructing a new development model. And so secondly, it's all about changing the physical circumstances. Back in the past, it's all about rural villages, kind of located sparsely out there in the wilderness. Now, actually, it's much more kind of concentrated. Architectural style changed, and people living in better housing. Thirdly, I think it's all about changing the mindset. Back in the past, it's all about young and the old mixed living, and now it's almost like the older people kind of guaranteed a better kind of a post-labor career life, but with young people gone. And so we're facing kind of daunting challenges, and that's why they initiated the new rural countryside construction.
But then we also know, like as you have mentioned, people from the rural area, especially young people, like take a majority part of migrant workers like to Shanghai or Beijing, bigger cities. So I'm going to turn this to Professor Qiao. Like, what's the trend there? What if like rural development like got boosted and the young people decide to stay at home? So what's the current trend for migrant workers?
I think the term migrant worker in Chinese has a very special connotation. It literally means farmer worker. Okay, but the meaning of it is changing in this decade. Why is that? Especially when we look at the situation in the Dongbei area, northeastern part of China, there are more skilled labor, not just farmer, coming down to metropolitans like Shanghai to Beijing and to Shenzhen. It is different from the story in the past 2 decades, which people from the west go to the east. These are the majority of them are really pure farmers. Okay. The strategy at the time was a big in, big out policy. At the time, we relied very much on exports, but we didn't have the core technology. What we do is to import some parts and then assemble it and then ship it out. So we need to build the factories near the coastal area so that the transportation cost is cheap. But then we now build some high-speed railway to Europe and other places. So now 1/3 of the computers in the world are being built in Chongqing. So it's not just about more or less migrant workers, but the flow of direction has been changed.
Better connections, so it makes it easier for people to get around the country and improve their livelihoods. Okay, professors, thank you so much for your time on that.
Sure.
Well, speaking of changing landscapes and changing country, I want to get over to our team in the Southwest, and Jiao Yunfei and Sean Calebs. They are at the Three Gorges Dam, a huge project, more than 1 million people forced to move for this enormous venture. So what are you guys seeing there?
Indeed. Good afternoon to you guys, Enchant and Jonathan. We're closing in on the dam. We are, I'd say, in the watershed area, but we're not there yet here in Hubei Province. And this is the last province that we're going to pass through on our southwest route from today on. CGTN reporter based in central China, Jiao Yunfei. Welcome to the team. Great to have you co-hosting here.
Thank you so much. It's my great pleasure to join this wonderful crew. In the past couple of days, you've done so well. Now, the Southwest route witnesses China's emerging industries and economic development. We are on our way to the Three Gorges then. As we mentioned, we're almost there, actually. The city is called Yichang. Local people call this place the city of hydroelectric power.
Yeah, and between 1993 and 2010, obviously some controversy around this. 1.3 million people relocated to make way for the Three Gorges Dam. The Zigway County is completely submerged by the dam's reservoir at the upper stream, and obviously now people have built new homes above the waterline.
Absolutely. So while rebuilding the facility seemed very easy, but what about relocating his historic site and preserving its cultural relics? Joining us in our mobile studio is Professor Liu Baocheng from the University of International Businesses and Economics. Welcome, Professor Liu. So Zigway is known for the patriot poet Qu Yuan. Many Chinese know that figure, but his ancestral hall was in the previous site. When it's relocated, the historic site is gone. The culture is gone, which was kind of being a threat.
It is really a happy irony that with each allocation, the statues, the memorial hall gets larger and more splendid. And I think this nation needs this type of spirit, and that's the glue to bond the Chinese culture. Qu Yuan represents the allegiance to the court despite of the number of purges he has received. And also he is a great poet and with a great disposition. And also that the patriotism he exercised during the hardest time that this nation experienced. So now through generations, actually, he was, commemoration dates back to 1200 years ago, and now by each of the dynasty, and he was really commemorated for this type of spirit. And this is really currently the cultural confidence is something that can really revive the Chinese dream for Renaissance and for its greatness towards the future.
Absolutely. So in this segment, we're talking about countryside revitalization. What has been a really interesting fact is that the local government is actually using the figure of Qu Yuan to develop more intangible cultural heritage, and that can make this kind of culture more revived and long-lasting. So Qu Yuan is actually the origin of the Dragon Boat Festival.
Oh, right. That's
but
right.
It's the festival in early June.
Right.
But it's just a festival in one period of time. How to make it year-long? How to attract the year-long attention? Some people say that the Three Gorges Dam near Zigway County is a cue.
Interesting. We'll be watching that. We had some pictures outside as we zip along, heading into kind of southwest into more central part. To me, this is just beautiful. You spent time in Seattle in the United States. This reminds me of that area.
I miss Seattle. The rainy season really looked like Seattle, so I miss my Seattle friends so much. But in about 1 or 2 hours, we will reach the Three Gorges Dam. We'll bring you live in front of the dike of the Three Gorges Dam, which will be a very fascinating scene. So stay tuned at 8 GMT on CGTN.
Back to you guys in the Northeast.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. It's a huge project. I've heard about it for years. I can't wait to see what they're doing there.
And absolutely. And now we have more. And let's go to our colleagues Yang Chengxi and Liaoning Province in Jiangsu Province. It's a big farming area. Tell us more.
Well, thank you so much, Shishen and Jonathan. Well, we are on the bus traveling in the Wangshan village of Suzhou. Now, the city is situated on the lower reaches of the Yangtze River and the shores of Lake Tai. It's very beautiful here, and that's why it's earned the name the Venice of China.
Wow. Well, the tourism potential of Suzhou extends beyond the popular city hotspots. Now, many Chinese urban residents enjoy taking a road trip with the family during the weekend to visit villages like this around the city to experience nature, taste farm-to-table foods, breathe some fresh air, exercise by walking in the greeneries, and also shop for some local specialties too. Now, what do we have here? Now, these are all local products. Like we have local grapes and local black tea leaves and green tea leaves, and although this toy, now this is the mascot of the village, as I'm told, cute monkey.
Very cute indeed.
Wow. So many rural villages surrounding Suzhou are capitalizing on this and developing their own rural and culture tourism industry.
That is fascinating. In fact, Wangshan is just one example of many, as you say. But just here in particular, this village is home to about 600 farming families, a population of just over 2,500 people. But they really are relying on its rich natural resources for this village's future development. And the strategy is working.
businesses in the village now boast aggregated total assets of $31 million. That's lifting incomes for rural residents. And already this village has earned itself some good titles such as 5A Tourism Spot and the prize for National Ecological Village. Well, let's bring in our guest, Andy Mark, the Senior Fellow on the Center for China and Globalization, for more. Andy, how big is the rural leisure tourism industry in China, and what is its potential for growth?
Well, if we look back to 1978, when economic reform and opening started, Chinese people then aspired to 4 things in life: a sewing machine, a wristwatch, a bicycle, and a radio receiver. So fast forward to today, hundreds of millions of Chinese have televisions, they have smartphones, they have air conditioning, they have refrigerators. But perhaps most importantly, there are more than 200 million private automobiles on the road in China today, with about 1 in 3 families owning a car. And as we've seen over the past 10 plus days, it's not just high-speed rail, which is one of the miracles of modern China, but a very modern highway system as well. So all these people in cars with money to spend also want a place to go. But with this material prosperity, what's happened too is they've also experienced the pressures of living in an urban environment. So long hours, concrete jungles. And this has created a tremendous pent-up demand for these kinds of, this kind of tourism, going to more rural parts of China, experiencing a more green lifestyle to rejuvenate not just their bodies but their souls as well. So I think, as we've seen today, you know, the market is enormous.
I think this seems to be a model that a lot of villages in China is choosing, right? Tourism industry.
Absolutely. So, you know, of course, China is a large, complex society, and it's largely urban, but it's not exclusively urban. So some people, of course, want to move to the big city, the bright lights, the big city. But other people also would like to stay back home, right? You know, in a rural environment. And this also creates opportunities for them as well. And again, you know, one of the themes we talked about in China is harmony and balance. And I think China is a complex society. Being able to offer different paths for people is very important.
This place is really beautiful, isn't it? Right. It's just, you know, spent a little time over lunch and really loved the environment and the scenery.
It's beautiful here.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Andy Mark, for your analysis. Now, this afternoon we'll be traveling to one of the 4 major gardens of Suzhou, the Lion Garden, and we'll bring you live reports there. We're very much looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Right, back to you, Xinchen and Jonathan.
Thanks a lot, Yang Chengxi and Lindy over there.
So we brought back out the crabs because our lunch continues. We're going to have a little bit more before we go back, because especially this is Dongying's favorite treat, so we just want to rub it in her face, that we could sit here and eat crabs on television and enjoy some freshly steamed crabs. And I'm going to try it because I didn't try it earlier, and I'm going to be a good sport because I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of crab. But I bet you these are pretty delicious.
These are a really good one, to be honest.
So, okay.
Take it.
I just eat.
Yeah, just take a bite.
All the yellow too.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. How do you like it?
Oh, it is good. Yeah, it's delicious.
It's really fresh. I mean, just freshly caught from the rice filler.
I'm trying to describe the taste of the yellow part, which is the eggs, right?
The egg, yeah.
And I cannot come up with the word. Words escape me, but it is really good.
It's a delicacy.
It's a delicacy. It's delicious, and I wish you could share some of this with us, Dongying.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm seeing a speechless Jonathan after a bite of the crabs there, and claiming himself not a big fan of crabs. All right, thank you very much, my colleagues Xu Xinchen and Jonathan Betsy in China's northeast city of Panjin, and also my colleagues on the southwest and southeast routes as well. And tomorrow, our exclusive series New China, this massive undertaking, will come to its final day. So join us again at 0400 GMT or noon Beijing time as our reporters explore the development of port trades in China. And now let's take a short break, and when we come back, we'll recap the highlights from our New China journeys yesterday.
In 70 years, China has undergone unprecedented transformation. From its old industrial base in the northeast to its new manufacturing powerhouse in the southeast and to its emerging southwest. CGTN offers you a panoramic view of contemporary China. Our crews will travel along 3 different routes and come to you live from dozens of locations and free mobile studios. Join us for an all-inclusive look at China on our TV channel and digital platforms, September the 9th to the 20th. It is New China, then and now, in celebration of the 70th anniversary of the People's Republic of China, only on CGTN.
This is a very unique show. We are in the rehearsal hall of the Shenyang Acrobatic Troupe, and we got a show for you. Take a look.